From under the Golden Dome in Charleston, this is the West Virginia Capitol Report.
Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Capitol Report. I'm Bill Laird along with co-host Dave Perry, and we have a great show lined out for you here today. Certainly the West Virginia Division of Natural Resources, an extraordinarily important department in state government. Certainly our public parks and lands throughout the state of West Virginia, very important both in terms of our economic development potential in the state of West Virginia, in addition to the quality of life that we enjoy in the state of West Virginia. And we're very pleased, Dave, to be joined today by Stephen McDaniel, the Director of the West Virginia Division of Natural Resources, which is, again, a division of the Department of Commerce in the state of West Virginia. And Mr. Director, welcome to the Capitol Report show.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's great to be here. I always love to talk about the division and all the exciting things that we're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Again, the importance of the Division of Natural Resources to the citizens. But again, I want to start out with what I have long thought is truly the best public park system in the United States, in my opinion. I've had the opportunity to visit many, if not all, of our state parks in the state, and we're truly blessed with just beautiful parks that people have an opportunity to enjoy on a daily basis. But, you know, as happens with public properties, over a period of time they can fall into a posture of decline, and that's been a real issue in the state of West Virginia in more recent years. But from what I understand, there's really some exciting news, major infrastructure improvements underway in our state parks. And Mr. Director, if you could maybe share with us a little bit about some of that activity, what we're doing specifically to improve the infrastructure of our public parks and the impact that can have on our parks and tourism in West Virginia.
Sure, Bill, thanks. You know, when I was hired by Governor Justice, he made it pretty clear from day one his vision and his directive, and that was we need to increase tourism in West Virginia. We've not done a very good job of maintaining our park system, and we've not done a very good job of telling our story. So with the governor's support, we went out and we started cataloging all the different types of issues that we needed to address in our park system. When I got here, we had over 7 million people coming to our parks in West Virginia each year. What they were seeing was the beautiful vistas and mountains and rivers that everybody's used to seeing since, you know, over 100 years, but they were starting to see our facilities in decline. And, you know, the governor, directed me to go out and figure out what needed to be fixed, find out how much it was going to cost, and with the support of he and the legislature, that's exactly what we're doing. We're spending almost $60 million throughout our 35 state parks and 9 state forests, and we're also in the middle of a $27 million expansion at Cacapen Lodge and Resort Center. So we're real excited, and some of the things that we're doing, as you know, the Civilian Conservation Corps played a big important part in West Virginia park system. A lot of the cabins that you see out there today were built in the early 40s, late 30s and early 40s, and they've been neglected to a point. So there's a lot of infrastructure improvements that needed to be made there. Our lodges were built anywhere from 1950s to 1970. And they as well needed a lot of infrastructure, new bathrooms, new kitchens, our sewage treatment plants, a lot of our water treatment plants throughout our park systems needed to be upgraded and improved, and water lines, and our campgrounds. We have over 1,800 camping facilities, and a lot of them needed additional electrical upgrades and hookups. You know, when we built our most of our campgrounds were built in the 50s. We didn't have these big RVs that required these 50 amp, 100 amp services, and you'd be surprised how many of them go and blow the breakers all night long when they try to hook those. So there was a lot of things that we needed to pay attention to, and the governor has said, you know, if that's what needs done, go out and do it, and that's exactly what we're doing, and people seem to be really excited. We're starting to see a lot of increased numbers and participation, specifically this summer.
Stephen, when we look at these changes and investment the state has made and the legislature's made and the governor certainly has endorsed, how do these changes work into the DNR's mission in terms of conserve, protect, and provide responsibly managed land for all the residents?
Well, the big thing we want to do is improve our visitor experience. And you know, if you have nice facilities, you know, that goes right into what we want to do. You know, one of the things we're here to do is to make sure that our public lands are used for recreation. Not just hunting and fishing, but there's mountain biking and canoeing. And so when you get there, you need to have nice facilities. We can get people here. Chelsea Ruby and the West Virginia Division of Tourism are doing a fantastic job. I don't know if you all heard, but at the state travel or the U.S. travel deal last year, the West Virginia Tourism had won first place. And you know, we've never been in, so we're real excited about that. So they're doing a good job of getting the people here. I just got to make sure when we get them here that they're happy and that they come back. And you know, historically, 8 out of 10 people that visit West Virginia for the first time do return. So I think the visitor experience is what we're focusing on. Not only are we fixing up our facilities, but we're starting to add additional recreational opportunities as well. We built a zip line at Pipestem. We're adding canoe and kayak ramps throughout all of our rivers and streams in West Virginia. We're building bicycle trails and things like that. So we're trying to improve that visitor experience and do things to try to get people to stay here longer and get them to pull off that interstate when they're, I was telling you earlier, so many people drive through West Virginia to go somewhere else. Well, when they're coming through here, we want to get them to pull off the interstate and visit us for a bit.
Of those 35 parks, you've invested in technology. What change and how has technology changed the park system in the state of West Virginia?
I'll tell you, you hit it right on the head. Today, people don't want to be disconnected anymore. You know, for years we would always market, you know, come here, unplug and relax. And people still want to do that, but they want to stay connected, especially the younger folks, you know, the millennials and the people. So what we've done is we're spending probably close to $2 million over the last 2 years and the next 2 years to try to get additional Wi-Fi access. You know, what's nice is we've got thousands of miles of hiking trails in West Virginia. Wouldn't it be great if you had Wi-Fi access, you have maps right on your phone? You know, we have the trail maps at all the parks, but people don't want to look at the trail maps as much anymore. They want to see it on their phone. So we're in the process of expanding not only better Wi-Fi experience in the parks or the lodges and the cabins, but we want to broadcast those Wi-Fi systems throughout the parks. And I would say in the next 2 years, you'll probably have fairly good Wi-Fi access in just about everyone, except for maybe 1 or 2 of the outliers. It's going to take a little bit longer.
Mr. Director, again, returning to the major appropriations of money to attack some of the deteriorating infrastructures existing in our parks, and again, one of the things that has always been very interesting to me in terms of our state park system, you referenced the Civilian Conservation Corps earlier. When you actually go out and look at the workmanship, a lot of the masonry work, just some very historic aspects to some of our park infrastructure. And again, I guess the question I have, in 21st century improvements, renovations to basic architecture that has some significance that goes to the legacy of our park system. I think our state park system in West Virginia began in around 1925, perhaps Pocahontas, Watauga State Park, I think might have been a very early aspect of the history of our park system. But may seem like a convoluted question, but as far as respecting the legacy of our state park system at the same time trying to affect major upgrades and improvements to basic infrastructure, how do you protect that legacy but yet address contemporary needs? Right.
Well, absolutely. I mean, those cabins and those facilities that were built by the Civilian Conservation Corps 80 years ago give us that's our brand. When you go up to Watauga, there is a brand there, and you're talking about local folks who cut the trees on site, who cut the stone on site, built everything with what they had right there. And back then, the folks were proud of it and they took ownership of their parks. So we work very closely with the State Historical Preservation Office, and we make sure that we maintain the integrity of those original facilities. And it costs a little bit more to do that. But you know what? When people come and they see those historical, there's a statue, you know, there's 2 parks, Watoga's one of them, that has the big bronze statue of the CCC worker standing proudly over top of everything that they've done. We want to make sure that we tell that story, that those folks went into those mountains 80 years ago and did everything on the land. And we want our local folks to take ownership of those parks as well too. So we've been working really closely with the local high schools, and they're coming in and they're repairing roofs for us, building picnic tables, a simulated workforce program that we're very proud of. And it's another way to get those young individuals, just like they did 80 years ago, to get into those parks and recreate what we've been so proud of for the last 80 years.
Absolutely.
Of course, you talked a little bit about there just a few minutes ago and hit on it. What makes you think West Virginians are so passionate about their parks?
Well, I mean, it's our culture. It's what we are. You know, almost heaven was country roads. I've been all over the world, and I've not met a person that's not familiar with that. Absolutely. And when you listen to the words of the song, it is the mountains, the rivers. We are proud. West Virginia, we're a proud people, and our parks are one of those things that we put up there. We want everybody to see. You know, we have 7 million visitors a year to our parks, but less than half of those come from out of state. Most of those are our proud West Virginians that know what they have and they're going to visit them. We want to get out. We want to show everybody what we have. And people from West Virginia are proud. You know, they're proud when people come here and say, gosh, I didn't realize how beautiful this place was. So we owe it not only to that legacy, to that culture, is to maintain these facilities and make sure that we go out and we tell that story and we show people why we as West Virginians, you know, we're rugged folks, and we cut our teeth on this land. We built these beautiful parks. We need to make sure that we maintain those and that we tell that story.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Director, we're going to need to take a quick break. I'd like to, if you could stay with us, come back and a few other things concerning not only public parks, but some of the other core functions of the West Virginia Division of Natural Resources. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break and be right back with Stephen McDaniel, the Director of the West Virginia Division of Natural Resources. So stay with us, everybody.
The West Virginia Capital Report is brought to you by the AFL-CIO of West Virginia, Cucumber & Company, online at cucumberandcompany.com, and Mark Hunt & Associates, toll free at 800-554-1280. From under the Golden Dome in Charleston, this is the West Virginia Capital Report.
Welcome back to the Capital Report as we continue our discussion with Stephen McDaniel, the Director of the West Virginia Division of Natural Resources. And Mr. Director, again, you talked a little bit about what seems to be a partnership between the Division of Natural Resources and the West Virginia Division of Tourism. And again, Chelsea Ruby, very aggressive in trying to market West Virginia, but again, 7 million people annually visit our state park system throughout the year. And what mechanisms do you all have I guess you can look at visitors to our state parks as sort of a customer base, and customer satisfaction becomes a pretty important element in quality improvement, things of that nature. What do you all do in the Division of Natural Resources to ensure, you know, high quality experiences for park visitors?
One of the things that we do, Bill, is that we constantly quiz. You know, we try to get customer comments, especially at our lodges and our cabin parks, because we want to know, you know, what people thought of their experience. And I got to tell you, over 80% of the folks that I get comment cards from are very pleased with what their overall experience was. When I do get negative comments, it goes back to the facilities. You know, everyone always comments about how beautiful the mountains are. You go to Blackwater Falls State Park, you know, that's probably the most photographed place in the state of West Virginia. People go on and on about how beautiful the falls are. Then they say, well, the cabin could have been a little bit better, or the furniture could have been a little bit better. So I start, you know, we see a lot of that. So we want them we don't want them not only to enjoy those falls, but when they come, they need to be comfortable. They need to like the facilities that we have to offer, and that's one of the things that I've been directed to do. And as you said, we're very closely connected with tourism. Chelsea Reeve and I joke all the time. When the first thing the governor told me is, he said, "I want you attached to the hip to the Commissioner of Tourism." He said, "You two are going to. I need you two to focus on bringing West Virginia to where it should be." And we've been doing that. And I would argue that I think we've been doing a pretty good job. The numbers are starting to show that the people are getting the message, and we're seeing increased traffic this summer like we haven't seen in a long time.
Of course, we talked the Division of Natural Resources. Within the Division of Natural Resources, I'm sure there's some other areas that you're responsible for as well.
Oh,
and
yeah.
those areas would be, or bureaus or departments would be what?
Well, hunting and fishing is a big one. It's a very big one. Hunting and fishing, whitewater rafting, the state's natural resources, of course, all the timber and things on our state public lands. So we're responsible for a lot of things in the division, and hunting and fishing is a big one. You're talking about $400 or $500 million a year economic impact to West Virginia, and there's some concern there because there's a cultural change in the United States. You know, my grandfather hunted to live. My father learned how to hunt from my grandfather, not just to live, but it was because it was a culture. You know, it was an experience. I learned from my father and my grandfather how to hunt. I'm teaching my children, but my children just aren't, you know, they hunt, but they're not as into it as I was because they have so many other things occupying them. So we've probably we've seen a 20 to 30% loss in hunters across the country because our hunters getting older. So we're doing some things now to try to get them back. We have the 3R program, which is recruit, retain, and reactivate our hunters. And it's a nationwide campaign that focuses on trying to get more young people and more people that hunted before back into the forest. And we do that with new programs. We're increasing the acres of public land. You know, when I grew up as a kid, it was hard to find places to hunt if you didn't go to the mountains. Well, now in West Virginia, you have over 1.5 million acres of state or national forest to hunt. And we're doing a good job of creating better habitat. So hunting is very important to us as a state. And all those state public lands, those hunting lands, you know how we buy them? The sale of hunting and fishing licenses. So that's why it's so important to maintain that if we want to maintain and continue those things.
Absolutely. And again, revenue derived from the sale of hunting and fishing licenses. I guess that goes in a number of directions, not only as it relates to the procurement of public lands, but a lot of the other what could be considered non-hunting and angling aspects of recreation. Just for our viewers, you know, again, I think from the sale of ammunition, there's monies that come back to the state. What are some of those revenue sources important to the Division of Natural Resources? Are those dedicated revenues? Just maybe paint in broad strokes a little bit about the importance of that revenue to the division.
Yeah, not only do we receive revenue from the sale of hunting and fishing licenses, but we receive federal excise tax, Dingell Johnson and Pittman Robertson funds. Right. Every time you buy hunting and fishing supplies, there's a tax, a revenue that comes back to states, and it's divided up based on usage. That's why it's so important to increase those hunting license sales, because it's a percentage of how we derive our income. But not only do we take care of hunting and fishing, as you mentioned, wildlife diversity. All of our endangered species, plants, animals, I mean, that's a major part of what we do. One of our fisheries biologists was recently recognized on a national scale for her work in the increasing of freshwater mussels. Freshwater mussels are so important to maintaining the integrity and the water quality in our rivers, and we do, you know, there's a lot of things like that we're involved in, and we use those dollars as well to maintain and to continue those conservation efforts.
Let's talk about the Gold Rush program.
Oh,
and how it's
one of my favorite
anglers and hunters.
Jim Hedrick, the young man who's responsible, he runs our hatchery program. As you know, the golden trout, West Virginia, it can claim the golden trout. The surrounding states have one, but not like our golden trout. And it was created by accident in Petersburg 60, 70 years ago, and it has become a crowd favorite. You know, I don't know of an angler in West Virginia that hasn't seen a golden trout somewhere in a river and I know I've spent hours of my life trying to catch them. So there was so much interest in it that Jim Hedrick said, why don't we do a program where we do nothing but stock golden trout You know, we said gold in them their hills. You know,
Right.
so the last 2 years we've stocked around 40,000 pounds of golden trout exclusively the first week of April. You know, we focus on when the kids are out of school. Majority of the kids are out of school, and I tell you, I knew it would be successful, but I saw the ad campaign. We reached over almost 10 million people with in surrounding states because there's such an interest in that gold rush program. So we thought it was going to be a one-year deal. Well, it was so successful the first year. We did it a second year, and it seemed like more people were interested in this. So we're going to continue to do it. So that first week of April, you know, mark that off your calendar. Go up into the mountains, the lakes and the rivers in West Virginia are going to be full golden trout. Yeah. So we're real proud of that, and I'm just tickled to death for Jim Hedrick. It was his brainchild, and he came up with it, and it's been very successful. And that's
really
what it's about.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yes.
the governor challenges us to think out of the box. You know, come up with some different things because you got to create the excitement. So those are the kinds of things that we're doing. You know, we just recently started. We have what's called the West Virginia Heritage Hunting Season. Now we have a specific hunting season after January 1, where you can get out with your traditional bow and your ball and cap muzzle loader and get out into the forest and hunt like our forefathers did. You know, so we're doing some things to try to generate some excitement. But the gold rush, that's one of my
That's your
favorites.
favorite.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Mr. Director, again, you know, when you look at tourism, how people spend their vacations, you know, a lot of things affected by the economy, and you know, sometimes how people recreate, you know, that's it's discretionary depending on you know, their ability to do so, whether you head to Myrtle Beach or, but again, the I guess part of you know, the marketing strategies of the division should probably includes attracting out-of-state tourism, but again, encouraging West Virginia to sometimes you tend to neglect that which is in your own backyard, and again, when you have a world-class state park system and the tourism opportunities we have here in the state of West Virginia, in some ways, you know, we need to heighten public awareness perhaps of the importance of West Virginia using our state park system. Of those 7 million people that annually visit, do you have any sense as to the mix? Are we doing a pretty good internal marketing strategy as far as encouraging, you know, West Virginians to stay home and recreate, or
Sure.
maybe that's
Sure. You know, one of the things, and you and I had talked about earlier, one of the things the governor wanted to make sure that we maintained was that we want people from West Virginia to use our parks. And of the 7 million visitors, of course, a lot of those are recurring visitors, and the majority of the visitors that come to our West Virginia state parks are from West Virginia. Okay, all of our parks are free to enter. You know, you get access to all the vistas and the hiking trails. And I will tell you, I've traveled again all over the country. I just got back from out west. Our lodge rooms and our cabins are as reasonable priced as any in the country. So we have done a really good job of maintaining a very reasonable cost to experience our state parks. And one of the things that, you know, that the people of West Virginia have done, and I think a pretty good job, is taking advantage of that. But we do have to attract people from out of state. Where we're sitting right here, 70% of the population in the country is within 8 or 9 hour drive. And as we said earlier, a lot of them drive right through West Virginia to go somewhere else. So it's our job to get them to pull off the interstate and stay and meet some of the fine folks in West Virginia. Because I can tell you, that's one thing we get from the comment cards. Everybody's experience with our people is always very positive. Yeah.
And again, the amenities in those parks, I noticed pipe stem, I think zip lines, there's a new water attraction there, you know, golf courses, but again, sometimes the profitability of those amenities, you know, when it comes time to either cut budgets or reduce, try to deal with the pressures of, you know, you are a government agency, but sometimes I guess you need to maintain an amenity to make sure that the whole is more than the sum of its component parts sometimes.
And you're exactly right. And that's unfortunately up until when we got here and we were able to get some new funding to put in the parks, you have to make those tough decisions, Bill. And in the past, our superintendents and our parks folks have made some decisions that weren't always popular, but like you said, you got to learn where to put the dollars. So I think that we've done a pretty good job of that, and I think that we, with the support of Governor Justice and the continued support of the legislature over the next couple of years, you're going to see even a more improved park system.
Talked about the next couple of years. Let's kind of look down the road 2 years from now. Where do you see us 2 years from now? Or paint us a picture of what you hope will happen in 2 years from now.
Well, I would hope that in about 2 years, all this initial construction phase will be done. You go into our lodge rooms and our cabins, and they're going to be very, upgraded, new furniture, new windows, new kitchen facilities. You're going to have new bicycle trails, zip lines. There's going to be a lot more additional recreational opportunities, and you're going to be able to see that. You're going to be able to see that online. You're going to be able to see radio commercials and digital media. So it's gearing up right now. I'm pretty excited about it. I think West Virginians are going to be proud of the product that we're going to be able to put out.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Director, unfortunately our time has expired, but Dave and I really want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today on the Capitol Report.
It's my pleasure.
And again, to our viewers, we'd like to thank you all for tuning us in each week as we bring you up-to-date information concerning matters of public interest to the citizens of West Virginia. On behalf of Dave Perry, I'm Bill Laird. Again, thanks for tuning us in. Have a good week, and goodbye, everybody.
The West Virginia Capitol Report is brought to you by the AFL-CIO of West Virginia, Cucumber & Company, online at cucumberandcompany.com, and Mark Hunt & Associates, toll free at 800-554-1280.